Ladies and gentlemen, the American Jury and Bulldog Nation, welcome to the Eric Deters Show. We got lots of big news to cover, so let's get with it. Well, the top story, of course, is the ICE Minneapolis shooting that happened yesterday, where a woman was shot and killed in the morning who was trying to obstruct ICE operations, refused the commands, then accelerated towards an ICE police officer and was shot and killed. And it is the story. And we're going to cover a lot of parts of that story as we go through this news. I've watched the video. I've done police misconduct work, folks. And I'm telling you, that's a justified shooting. Mayor Jacob Fry, this guy, he speaks Salamese. He spoke out when the kids were shot and killed by a transvestite mental health person in that church last year, or this past year. What did he do? He said, let's not judge the transvestite community. And yesterday he does a press conference and says they want ICE the F out. Really? Governor Tim Walz, wanting to redirect the Somalian fraud, he gets in front of the camera and he echoes the same thing, and he basically declares war on the United States of America. He ought to be criminally charged. Tampon Tim. Then J.D. Vance weighed in and expressed full support by the president and him for these ICE agents. By the way, they've apparently arrested a couple hundred folks out of Minneapolis, including human sex traffickers, child molesters, etc. Your mayor and your governor, Minneapolis, want those people to stay there. What would Lou Grant and Mary Tyler Moore think? All right, then we had Kristi Noem also spoke and also defended the ICE agents, as she should. Donald Trump did too. He issued a statement. Now, this is wild. We find out Renee Good, who is the deceased, has a 6-year-old child from a man that she was previously married to, wasn't a woman, but she's now married to a woman. Her prerogative, that's fine. And that woman is saying, oh my God, we got a 6-year-old. If you got a 6-year-old and you don't want to die, you might not want to lead. There was a witness that said she was the leader of the blocking of the ICE agents. Lead a block and drive your vehicle towards an ICE agent, who, by the way, apparently last week was dragged at some event. So Renee Good's life was snuffed out because of Renee Good. And it's amazing. Creates the problem, causes the death, and then the paid left people want to rally to it. It's hysterical. It makes no sense. Like President Trump says, common sense party. By the way, that's got to be real. James Comer, do you believe how Minnesota's taken over our news? James Comer yesterday held a hearing with folks from Minnesota that have personal knowledge about the fraud going on. It's been reported, ignored, Republican state lawmakers. It is real and it is deep. Minnesota media fails the state. Apparently, the Minneapolis and Minnesota media have ignored reporting of this problem for years. Just like our Cincinnati media ignores the bad stuff that goes on at Cincinnati Children's Hospital and St. Elizabeth Medical Center. See what happens? Bad things happen. Trump yesterday issued a very strong statement. He's not going to allow hedge funds and big corporate ownership of single-family homes. Who should stand against that? Who should stand against that? Good for him. He also proved that his Defense Department is not an ordinary Defense Department. Raytheon, he said, he threw down, said Raytheon better get their act together, stock buybacks. See, they take these large contracts, this government money, and then they turn around and give it to their shareholders without doing the job. It's a racket. And Trump called him out on it strong. Meanwhile, there's a Minnesota state audit. Should have followed the media failure with this story, but we'll go back to it. Minnesota state audit, fraud's rampant. This Somalian daycare fraud, government fraud is rampant. Palisades. We find out yesterday that the Palisades fire shouldn't have happened. The way they handled it was wrong. The water issue, the mayor, I mean, what a disaster. And by the way, all this time later, years later, these folks are still out there bantering around, not solving the problem. The reconstruction is moving pretty darn slow. Nick Reiner's lawyer, Alan Jackson, withdrew. It looks like Reiner doesn't have the money to pay Alan Jackson. And Alan Jackson withdrew. Now he's represented by a public defender. It ain't going to make any difference who represents that guy. James Carville actually said, in light of what Trump did in Venezuela, that we're opening up our country for the same kind of action. James gone off the deep end. The only good thing about James Carville is he blasted Kamala Harris. Maha yesterday had a big press conference with Bobby Kennedy and Dr. Oz, and they spoke about the food pyramid, the processed food, and they stressed meat, eggs, protein, whole grains, just as much as fruit and vegetables. And they spoke about alcohol. You know, I don't drink alcohol. I used to drink one screwdriver at our office Christmas party every year. I don't even do that anymore. I don't drink alcohol. Many of you drink alcohol. They handled it very delicately. They said, we understand the social thing about alcohol, blah, blah, blah. But folks, all the new studies about alcohol, there's a documentary about it. Alcohol destroys cells in your body. Alcohol is terrible for you. In fact, nobody should drink, and the whole alcohol business ought to go out of business. But that's not going to happen. And by the way, I get what they said. I got friends who drink. I don't judge them. But I'm telling you, beer, wine, liquor, it isn't good for you. It's not. And they said that. But they said it gently, and they said they understand the social norms. But I'm going to predict something. As all this new evidence comes out about alcohol, there is going to be less and less drinking of alcohol. That ought to be real, too. Representative Doug LaMaffa died, California congressman. Trump alluded to his service. He was like the head of the Western Caucus. Salt Lake City, there was a shooting outside of a church. More facts are coming in, don't have enough yet. And this is maybe the biggest story today in a lot of respects because of its symbolism. The woman aide, housing aide of Mondami, who spoke about collectivism and home ownership, and it's going to affect whites. Mother lives in a $1.6 million home in Tennessee. You see how they do it? You see how they do it? I wonder if she's going to take her mom's home and give it to the poor people in Nashville. In world news, the Trump administration sees 2 tankers trying to escape to England, allegedly by a Russian submarine group. That didn't make any difference. We grabbed it. Trump withdrew officially yesterday from 66 world organizations that meant nothing to America's interests. I love this president. Pop culture. Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban's divorce apparently is final. Sports Without Boundaries. Trae Young from the Atlanta Hawks got traded to the Wizards. That's one of the worst teams. But maybe the Wizards get some young players in the draft and come back. Las Vegas Athletics were turned down, saying it was too generic by the trademark office. Oakland A's going to L.A. this year. I would suspect that Trump will get involved in that in some way, shape, or form and get that approved. Come on. The Oakland Athletics, they moved and become the Las Vegas Athletics. They got to have trademark protection. Come on. They're going to promote the hell out of that. Shakespeare insult of the day, do not be a gleeking, dull-eyed hedge pig. This is the Bulldog. Google what a hedge pig is. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Have a great day.